Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Paranormal Hour. And I'm here with my four favorite people, or three favorite people. Well, four. That's weird. That's weird. Anyway,
Love
I'm
yourself.
Love yourself. I'm Massa West, and I'm here with McKenna and Susie and Celeste. How are you
Hey,
guys?
good. Good.
Doing great. Super excited.
Yeah, I know that you're going to dive back into the Raven Mocker and answer a few questions from a couple of weeks ago. But I'm just excited that you see daylight behind Susie. Like it's
Yeah.
actually daylight. I hate daylight savings. I hate the act of going into daylight savings. It's like, can't we just stay here all the time? Because we
Exactly
have all of
right.
the sunlight in the evenings. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are super excited, and we're going to dive right into the paranormal discussion. McKenna?
Yeah, so we're going to continue like our Appalachian topics because there are so many. It's kind of infinite. I feel like I've just kind of like delved right in and I love that I'm a part of this. Like it's so great and it's so exciting and I have the best time every week. But today we're pretty much going to like go over a couple of topics that we've gone over in the past. So last week we went over the Ravenmocker and we kind of went into the lore of that. And the week before we did the Bell Witch. And we've had a couple of questions, some on like the chat on YouTube and then some on Facebook. So we're going to go ahead and start with the Bell Witch. That was the farthest. So we're going to kind of go in chronological order there as far as our topics. So our question actually, it came from Jess on Facebook, and she asked if the Bell Witch cave was connected to Native American lore, culture, or elemental. She said she had seen or read something about that, and I decided to kind of do a little research. So we're going to delve a little bit into that first.
Sounds good.
So I did some more research on the cave specifically, and it's not as deep as I personally thought it was. You kind of think of a cave being many channels and super deep into a mountain. It's 490 feet long, which is still super, super deep as far as a cave goes, but it's not like infinite.
Yeah, it's not the
Um,
Mammoth Cave, right? You think of
right.
Mammoth Cave when you think cave, right? It's pretty small.
Right. It doesn't like, and as far as like channels and stuff like that, there's no mention of anything like being like dangerous or people kind of like cave diving in there. Not that, you would want to with all of the spooky things happening there. But it's said to have had like an ancient Indian burial ground in the bluff above the cave. So
Hmm.
basically, like the land area that's on top of the cave, you'll see a cave, it's like in a hill or a mountain, but the land area on top of it had an Indian burial ground, according to legend or according to history. Um, and a lot of the graves, apparently, at the early, like during the time of this early settlement, had been disturbed. And that's what initially caused the Bell Witch haunting. Uh, One theory states that Kate, which we kind of discussed in an earlier episode, was as being like a neighbor, a disgruntled neighbor that had been wronged by John Bell and the Bell family subsequently, um, having been like a sorceress, a witch, and having placed a curse on the Bell family. But one theory is that Kate was one of these spirits, wasn't actually a person that lived next door, but was a Native American spirit that was laid to rest in this bluff, and her remains were disturbed. And the Bell family was the closest to this Indian burial ground, and so they basically reap the worst repercussions of that. Um,
That
so
doesn't
that is
really
kind
make
of
sense because didn't they have a business transaction that he kind of reneged on or something like that? The
essentially
value of
yes.
land or something?
Yes. Yep. Exactly. So essentially, there was a business transaction, and this is kind of like what we went over before.
Hmm.
But we like to cover all the theories. We like to answer all the questions. But one of the theories is that she was a Native American. um, whose remains were disturbed. But no, you are correct that it was a neighbor, a disgruntled neighbor. There was a business transaction where John Bell came on top, and she was essentially taken advantage of. She became destitute because of this, and so she had placed a curse. So that's kind of the main theory, the more backed, more believed theory.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but there are similar like theories, similar lore that kind of like go along with like the Native American or like the elemental factor. Like another one is like that early Native Americans of the area had summoned Kate, we'll say like in quotations, because we call the spirit Kate or the Bell Witch just because of the connection with the neighbor. There was absolutely bad blood there. You know, it's recorded that this had happened and that it was bad news essentially. And so there was a whole lot of stuff that happened afterwards. But that early Native Americans had like summoned an elemental spirit and bound it to the land where the Bell family had built their house and decided to settle. And that's why they had experienced all of these paranormal things. But
Okay.
what I found interesting in reading more about the Bell Witch is that not all of their experiences were negative. Also, so
Hmm.
there was a story essentially that one of the children, the Bell children, they had quite a few children, um, had been playing near Bellwitch Cave before it was coined that, and a boy that they were playing with had gotten like trapped or stuck in a part of this cave, and an entity that no one could see basically pulled the boy out of this area where he was stuck and told him to stay away because it wasn't safe. There's also like a story saying that like an entity had brought grapes to John Bell's wife, and that the spirit was very benevolent to her specifically. That the wife had had a very close, very positive connection with this witch. And the reason why her daughter Betty was so attacked by this spirit was because the spirit didn't like a potential suitor of Betty's. And that's why it constantly would wake her at night and like pull her from her bed, leave scratches on her because it was trying to warn her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a more like positive theory, but you know, I
It
think
sounds
in
like
any
more than one entity, doesn't
Could have
it?
it
been.
could be. It really does. It really does, which does kind of tie in. It does like kind of relate you to that theory of like the Indian burial ground because that's not just one spirit that's disturbed. That's however many people, however many souls were interred there. So there could have been multiple spirits, but you never know. Most like people tend to have negative interactions with this place or negative interactions with the spirits that reside there. So you kind of have to imagine that the things that had gone on there or are going on there are not positive or not coming from good spirits.
Yeah, I think a lot of that too, and that comes out in our classes that we teach. Is a lot of people ask us, is every haunting negative? No, but they're more sensational when they're negative. So usually
Right.
that's probably what gets reported and that's what gets remembered. But my dad coming in here with his pomade smelly hair and flipping things around in the kitchen, that's not negative, so that wouldn't be reported. That's fun to me. It reminds me that I know he's still here, so that I think it's sensational to write down the dramatic negative stuff.
Yes, absolutely. And it kind of like ties in, not to go like too far into like the mainstream, since that is not what this is about, but the media will broadcast like the most dramatic story, the most shocking story, because that's what's going to get the most viewers. People are going to recount the most dramatic or horrendous story because that's what people are interested in. People are
Right.
interested in the macabre. So I
Yeah.
totally see how those things are more prolific, more prominent, and remembered. Because if something makes you afraid, if you're afraid of it, you tend to remember it. We have a biological base need to remember that, um, because our every instinct in our body is like, if this is making us afraid, it is danger. We have to stay away from this. So you're more likely to remember the things that you're afraid of.
Yeah, for sure.
So we could really, really delve deep into that, but that goes more into psychology instead of paranormal. And we're sticking with the paranormal right now. Maybe that'll be another podcast.
Yeah, maybe so.
uh, But yeah, so that question came from a Facebook viewer that came from Jess, and that was awesome that she kind of like pointed that out. We were able to delve a little bit deeper and kind of discuss some more theory. But we're going to go ahead and move on over to our Raven Mocker 2.0. So last week we covered the Raven Mocker. We'll kind of do a little Cliff Note summary. So the Raven Mocker, being a Cherokee legend, it's a Cherokee legend about a spirit, a malevolent spirit, an evil spirit, or other type of entity that essentially like stalks and kills people and steals their life force. So this spirit, this creature is said to be invisible. It's said to look like a flaming ball in flight, from people who have claimed to have seen it, and looks like a large raven. And essentially, this thing hunts, it's invisible, and will steal people's hearts from the sick or elderly out of their chest, and steal whatever life force they have remaining. So we're going to kind of go into that creature a little bit more, because we did have quite a bit of curiosity about that. We had a lot of engagement about that, and so I want to continue on that one.
Okay.
So one of the questions we kind of got, and we kind of had before last week, and we discussed it a little bit, or at least, my opinions on it was, a question was the Raven Mocker death? Which I thought was very interesting because, you see death all across different beliefs and different lore in hundreds and thousands of cultures, like Anubis in Egyptology is the god of death. And you have like Hades, or it's the devil, in all kinds of religions and all kinds of lore. So I totally see how this essential, like ancient being that would steal people's time and take them over to the other side could be associated with death. And I had to kind of do a bit of a deep dive because in Cherokee legend, you don't have an origin story about the Raven Mocker. There's no origin story. So I really tried to find like root words. I don't know how to pronounce every single word that I found, but I did find a lot of translations as far as Raven and very similar things in their lore and before even the Cherokee people. So we're going to kind of go into the Raven at first. So the Raven, is an animal. They call it the Raven Mocker because this spirit is said to look like a large raven. But the raven itself is an interesting symbol in Cherokee culture. So it's said to be associated with trickery and the ability to see beyond the physical world. So they associate those things. The symbolism of the raven is supernatural in itself. So it's often considered a messenger from the cosmos and a symbol of both life and death. So I thought that was very interesting that those two things were tied together. Although the Raven Mocker is only associated with death, and a horrendous death at that the symbol that they use to connect the two does symbolize death, just kind of in general. But also, Raven in Cherokee is said to bring good fortune and blessings. So so if someone sees like an actual raven, the animal, they think it's good fortune. So it's kind of a little flip-floppy, a little opposite. So you kind of got to take that one with a little bit of a grain of salt. But something I really enjoy. So in Cherokee, the name for Ravenmocker, the name that they used back then and like in their language now, literally translates to the death spirit.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
Oh,
right.
that's
And
interesting.
another one is like the faceless or like the unmasked. So because they say this thing is like a shapeshifter of sorts, because it can turn itself invisible. Some people say, it looks like an elderly person, someone that's aged, that's mixed with a bird. That tends to be more of a modern interpretation of the Ravenmocker. In older lore, it is a bird. It is just a giant raven across the board, essentially. Um, so we're gonna deep dive a little bit more into that because I really couldn't find a whole lot on the Cherokee basis of the Ravenmocker itself. So they don't have any stories, or at least nothing on the internet. I would love to learn more if someone has any first like account stories or anything that's been passed down. I would love to learn more. Um, but essentially, the Cherokee just say it's an entity. It's an ancient entity. They've had wars with it forever because this thing can steal time and essentially live forever. Um, but it's not said to have been created by a specific entity, but is seen as a solitary, malevolent being driven by an insatiable hunger for life force. So, in Cherokee specifically, they don't have an origin story for it. But if anyone knows differently, I would love to know. But we're going to kind of delve a little bit past that or before that. So Cherokee are so I might butcher this. I had a little help, but they're part of the Iroquois origin people. So those are kind of like the Great Lakes regions people. They speak a very similar language. There's multiple Native American tribes and descendants that come from them, and the Cherokee are considered like one of those. And they have their own beliefs and their own lore as far as like spirits, creatures, death, and the supernatural kind of like in general. And I really like the way that they kind of translate their base language to the Cherokee because it kind of makes it seem like these people have been here for a long time. So the Cherokee were known as the, hopefully I don't butcher this, Ani Yunwia people, which translates to principal people,
Hmm.
which does imply like, principal is main or
Yeah.
base, Yeah, so kind
Yeah.
of
Like
like
the
the
first,
basis.
first.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I did kind of go more on the Iroquois legend and kind of what their beliefs were, and found a couple interesting things like relating to their beliefs and their deities. So the Iroquois, they believed in what were called like the sky people, and this is all across the board ancient belief, like pre AD 1600, So they believe the world began in a great ocean with no light. Human like sky people lived on an island in the sky. Sky women fell towards the earth through a hole in the island. And that was kind of like their beginnings of like their deities. Um, but when the Iroquois like had people pass away, they would mourn their deceased for a year and then would celebrate soul's arrival in the sky world where the sky people came from.
That's really interesting. It sounds alienish, right? I mean, that we would
It
like make
does.
that UFO connection now, right? That's really interesting.
Absolutely. And it just kind of goes back to the different accounts in different cultures of the world of these ethereal beings coming down from the sky, which in Aztec and Egypt, pretty much most cultures that build these pyramids, which could be argued whether or not they are built for an energy source for these sky deities. They kind of come together and they're related in a way. So I did
Yeah.
find that especially interesting because, as an American, I was born here, I was raised here. You hear about the Cherokee, you grow up hearing about like Native Americans, and you get like your ABC history from your public schools or whatever else, whatever you find like on the internet. We haven't all had the internet forever, but there's so much information out there, and there's so much more past the Cherokee and the origins of the Cherokee that there's so much to learn from, and they can really tie to other belief systems and other cultures in the world, which I'm very grateful for the internet. I think it's amazing, and I'm just glad I don't have a series of encyclopedias in my house, because that would be like 100 pounds of paper on a shelf right now. um, But one thing I did find particularly interesting while I was doing my research on the Iroquois people was the specific type of entities that they believed in. So they believed in spirits, they believed in like gods, essentially, like most ancient cultures in the world. One that I found very, very interesting was one that was referred to as the flying head. So it's one of the most well-known like deities, gods, creatures in this time, or for these people. Supernatural beings is what it's referred to. It's called the Mohawk. Oh gosh, I am not gonna butcher that, but I will make sure to comment it on my Facebook because I'm not trying to offend anybody
Some
here.
of these words they're hard.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, when it's half consonants and half vowels, that's way too
Yeah.
much. I'm not trying to offend anybody today. Um, maybe another day. But this specific creature, so the flying head, is a monstrous figure with a giant disembodied head, thick hair, long black wings, and sharp claws. So this is
Wow.
essentially like their malevolent figure, which in a way could be kind of tied into the raven mocker, large black wings, large claws. I'm not sure about like the detached head particularly, um, but they have their own like series of spirits of their own deities that kind of like tie into each other. So there is a possibility that the raven mocker from Cherokee legend ties into the Iroquois and a similar deity from their history.
That's really interesting.
It
Yeah.
is.
So, and when I've done some reading on Native American lore and legends,
Yeah.
and maybe somebody out there in the audience can help me with this, but it seems like a lot of tribes had very similar legends, even though the tribes they didn't meet each other. You know what I mean? Like would be a tribe
Yeah.
from New York and then a tribe from Utah. It's not like they traded. It's so that they traded lore and legends and all this stuff, but they had very similar stuff. And we find that with legends all over the world. Before there was vast amounts of shipping going on, long
Yes.
distance, right? You would have the same legends, and I guess it could have been related to trade, but there wasn't a ton of that from when these legends sprang forth. So it's hard to say. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of like going off of that, is you see very similar uh, paranormal like entities or phenomena that happen across the same time period or a similar time period across the world, where these peoples, these indigenous peoples, had no communication with each other. So kind of going off of, I'm going to reference the Wendigo. So it's an Algonquin legend, which is only a tiny, tiny bit of the Appalachians. So this one, I struggled a little bit initially trying to decide whether or not it was enough Appalachian enough to kind of tie into our Appalachian series, but it is a part of like the northern Appalachians, but primarily it's Canada. It goes all across Canada and some parts of like the northern United States, like into Montana or northern Idaho. That's kind of where the Algonquin people like lived. But the Wendigo has similar warnings, similar lore with skinwalkers, with any sort of like shape shifting entity that mimics human sound. So, like the Wendigo would say to like sound like a loved one or sound like a crying child or a woman in distress to lure someone like into the woods
Mm.
or into this remote area to prey on them. They were said to be um, some legends say that they're cannibalistic, but they would essentially across the board feed on human flesh. Um, some say that they were their own individual spirits, and some say that they were people that had succumbed to the desire of eating human flesh and basically become zombies. But it's very, very similar to other lore in other parts of the world and other parts of the United States. And so it's very, very interesting how it all ties together. Uh, I mean, if you think about how long it would take to walk from one corner of the United States to the other, from the Appalachians to the Rocky Mountains,
Right.
with no resources, little to no resources, except for, you know, what you're able to hunt for yourself, able to forage for yourself. I can't imagine there was a lot of communication, especially
Yeah.
because you have your few large tribes of Native Americans or indigenous peoples, and then it's mostly smaller tribes.
Well,
So
and
you
didn't
don't
they have their
know.
own languages? So it's not like they
Yes,
had a shared language. So that would
yes,
be difficult.
exactly, exactly. They all
Yeah.
had different languages too.
Yeah.
And so they're the fact that like some of these legends, some of these creatures align and are so similar,
Mm-hmm.
kind of makes you question, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not these entities, whether these spirits, whether these uh, creatures were real,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whether they're still real. And we're just kept in the dark. You never know. You never really know, but it's very interesting to learn about, and it's very interesting to make those connections.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, McKenna. It was awesome as always. And
Thank you.
yeah, and I'm going to shoot you a West Virginia. I got to shoot you a West Virginia legend that you need to look into because I lived in West Virginia for a few years and I heard all about this. So I will send it to you. Not the Mothman, who's also
Oh,
yeah. So not the
I
Mothman.
love the
So yeah,
Mothman.
I do too. I do too. So everybody, the time has arrived for us to start doing our readings, and so please let our administrator know here where it. I don't see a reading list yet, but the time is now here to start doing the readings. If you would like a card drawn, Susie and Celeste, they both do, they either do their intuitive readings, their medium readings, or their cards. So please, and they work well together. So you don't have to choose one or the other. They're both going to put it in their input. So please ask a question. And if you would ask a question a little with some specificity.
Yeah.
Say that one without whiskey.
Right.
Specificity. Is that it? Anyway, yeah. So like
Right.
ask, you know, how's my job going to be this week or something like that. The open-ended questions are a little bit difficult, but they can still do them. So go ahead
Well,
and
while,
try.
while we're waiting for some questions, just a little fun fact since we had to mention the Mothman.
Yes.
Last Halloween, my best friend Megan and I went trick or treating as the Mothman and the lamp. So
No way, really? That's awesome. You're gonna have
she
to
was the
share.
Mothman.
You have to share pictures. I've got to see those.
Oh, I've got the costume actually right over here. I was the lamp, you know,
Oh,
and it was fun. It was a rave for sure, walking through the neighborhoods.
That's awesome. I just love people who
You
dress
didn't
up.
go over any
Whatever.
bridges, right?
What?
You didn't go over any bridges, right?
No.
I don't think there's
Nope,
a whole
just
lot where you live. Yeah, there might be a
we
few.
oh right. I don't know. I'd have to actually think about it. But no, we drove to a very nice suburban neighborhood and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
it was lovely. It was lovely. I had
Nice.
people stop and like quote Anchorman at me. They said like I love lamp and it was hilarious. It was
That's
great.
awesome. That's
Best
awesome.
costume.
So my dad's birthday was on Halloween, and so it was a
Oh,
big deal at our house. Okay, Liv G, am I making the right choice with work? That's the first reading.
Okay.
So
I'll
put
take
that
that
up
one
on
real
the
quick.
screen. Yeah. Yeah, so Halloween was a very big deal at our house, and it always was. We always had big parties and costumes. As he got older, he didn't dress up as much. He would just wear a mustache and a cowboy hat, but it was okay. It was cute.
So, Liv, yes, I know that some things are kind of like in the shadows right now. You've got questions about it, but you just pulled the happiest card in the tarot, which is the Sun, and you got the Six of Wands. So you're going to be moving into calmer water with that position, and yeah, you've made the right choice, and continue to follow your intuition.
Isn't that always so good to hear when you've made the right choice?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Somebody tell
It's
me
so
that.
good. It's so good. Okay, Sherry would like a reading from Celeste and Susie on overall health.
I feel like there's something you guys can see and hear me, right? Because on
Yes,
my
I
end,
can.
I don't
yes.
have anything. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
good.
We got
So
you.
I'm feeling like there's something you've kind of been concerned with or having a little bit of underlying worry. I don't feel like there is anything major, but I do feel like if you haven't already, gone to get a physical, get the blood work and stuff done, I do feel like there's something potentially off. And I feel like you've noticed that. I don't know if it's kind of fatigue, brain fog, just not feeling as much energy as you think you should, something to that effect. But anyway, I don't feel like it's anything horrible, but I do feel like there is something you can do to improve that, and maybe seeing your doctor or following up with more questions if you've already seen him would be helpful.
Yeah, and that's the same thing I see here for you too, Sherry. And the worry isn't doing you any good. So, like Celeste says, go in and get it checked out. That way, you know one way or the other, and the stress and the worry will calm down.
Other than her broken foot, yeah. And Liv G said definitely resonates. This is very good. She said, you can't see the screen, Celeste?
I can
No.
see you guys, but I'm not on the screen.
Oh, yeah, that's wild. Okay.
So,
but
yeah,
Liv said
it's just been
definitely
acting up.
resonates and my feelings are good. I appreciate you ladies so much, just in case you can't see it with your cell phone. So,
Of course.
and yeah, it's really hard in the stress thing right now. Like everybody is really, really stressed out, really stressed out. It's been just craziness, right? So, hey, Laura. And I know that my friend Carrie and my friend Ash, who from my class is on here. So if you guys want a card drawn, you want a reading, please don't be shy. Don't be shy. Step up. But so and at work things are really chaotic. Everybody's really stressed out. Like, are we going to be laid off? This and that. And I'm like, it's not doing anybody any good to be fearful and just stressed out. I said, that's not helping. You just focus on your job. And that's all you can do. Just focus on your job. Now, have I taken a million seminars in the last 3 weeks on what could happen, and preparing for the worst in case it should happen? Yeah, I've taken every seminar that's come across my desk, but I'm trying not to stress out. So
Well, yeah, Liv, today, the energy has definitely been off for a lot of people. I know some people are pretty frazzled. They're feeling a lot of weight, like really lethargic, but you've got multiple things going on right now in the energy. So we've got that eclipse coming up. Us locally, we've got a weather pattern change, and the barometric pressure is going to put some weight on you. But then also on the 15th, Mercury, of course, is going to go retrograde again for us. So yeehaw. Yeah, so it's like a big old poop storm of get ready. I'm trying to be good.
Lizette V would like, I don't know if the other Lizette's on tonight, but Lizette V would like a reading.
Okay.
Yeah, and poop storm. Yeah, you're right. And then we're going into retrograde again. Mercury's hard.
On the 15th. So we've got full moon technically tonight. Tomorrow. A little after midnight, it goes into the blood moon full eclipse, which is the 14th, and the 15th is Mercury retrograde. And I have not been able to sleep for the last 2 nights, and the moon hasn't bothered me too much this last year. But the last 2 nights, I have not been able to get to sleep before 3 or 3:30 in the morning. So the energy is kind of amped up right now, or chaotic anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been and yeah, Mercury retrograde hits a lot of people hard. I try to just keep my head down and skate through it as fast as I can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it shows Lizette
it isn't now quite a month this time, so that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you guys were done. So it shows Lizette right now that you are feeling kind of left out and a little bit stressed out with someone that should be giving you equal give and take, and they're not. They're being selfish on their end and holding back from you. Looks like it could be a love situation or somebody that you've collaborated with. Just know that the universe does have your back, and it's going to get better with a little bit of time. So just rest, relax right now. Hope that resonates. Sorry if it was rough.
I always hate hearing the rough ones because it's like it's happened to me. Okay. Patricia would like a reading tonight.
What do you think, Celeste?
Well, I don't know if this is going to be for Patricia or Lizette or all of us or else. This is kind of what's been happening in my life too, is sometimes it feels like everything's fallen apart. It feels like there's no stability, that there is all of these changes, and they're not necessarily good changes, big changes, just consistently changing. And what I'm being told with that is that sometimes in order for the new to come, in order for the things we want to manifest to come to fruition, other things need to be torn away. And sometimes we don't recognize that we're supposed to be walking away from it. Sometimes we don't want to walk away from it. And so the universe is kind of going in with the wrecking ball and taking the obstacles and the no longer serving us kind of things and people out of our lives. As the dust settles, the new growth is going to be visible, and we'll be able to see that the things that we truly wanted, those things needed to be let go of in order for that to truly come about in our lives. So like I said, I don't know if that was specifically for one of the people that asked, but that was just a big overwhelming feeling of something that I needed to share, if not for one person, for everybody, just to kind of put things into perspective a little bit. Destruction, or like pulling the tower card, is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's a necessary thing that isn't pleasant, but it does have a positive long-term effect on our lives.
McKenna,
Rude.
what is going on?
Like rude, but we get it. Like
yeah. No, it's true. Yeah.
Thanks for the turmoil, but we'll survive.
Right. And Patricia, it looks like you've got some forward moving energy coming towards you. Somebody that's putting on a little bit of a front that they have it all. Kind of like, yeah, I'm totally set up. I'm independent. I've got the money. I've got everything. But they're really immature. And just be really careful and watchful that they don't try to take you for money or affection or time or just something that you value. Make sure you're very discerning when this person comes towards you.
Wow. Laura, any big life
Mercury.
changes coming soon?
Gross. Sorry. For Patricia, that has to do with Mercury retrograde, just as a heads up.
Cool, thanks.
Will you say that again, Colleen? What the
Okay,
next
Laura
one was
asked
about?
if any big life changes are coming soon.
I feel like in different ways, all of us have got some big changes coming. Obviously, some will be more dramatic than others. But what I feel is if you've been trying to put your energy into some type of manifesting, some type of creating, that could very well be able to come through. I'm feeling things aren't going to be so much that way until more towards summertime. But one of the pieces of advice I offer to you and to everyone else is if there are things you're trying to create in your life, a better job, a new house, love, financial stability, whatever it is, this moon that's hitting, it's a moon in Virgo. So Colleen can wave her hand. Virgo is a very direct, it is very powerful, it is very nurturing. It can be a little blunt or brutal. But this is the perfect time to use this full moon to release the things that are holding you back, the things that are no longer serving you. And it can be as simple as just go outside and sit under the moon and just say, I'm letting go of everything that no longer belongs to me, does not benefit my life. I am asking the moon. And the way that the moon works with it is we have a full moon. So it's big and round. As the days go by, it gets smaller and smaller. So that's the idea that you're putting into what you are wanting to release. You're wanting it to become smaller and less significant in your life till it disappears, like on dark moon. And then as the new moon fills again, that's the building of the manifestation of the new energy to help us to work toward those goals. So I would say there are some changes coming, but I'm not feeling them immediately. And I think that's kind of for a lot of people in general. Patience is not most people's strong point, but it definitely benefits you to have a nice firm foundation for that to grow on rather than trying to rush it and things are a little less stable.
Yeah, I'm seeing that you have a fear of losing the stability right now. But like she said, I've got the world here. The universe has got your back. So whether anything that happens, you know, the universe it's got your back. It puts the right people in the right situations, the right time. It has perfect timing. So no matter what happens to you, if we lose our jobs, if we get laid off, just know you're going to be okay. There's always a way that you're going to be okay. So just put your faith in that, trust the universe, and it'll all work out. I promise.
Yeah, and David said, "Oh boy, the manifestation is happening fast and furious." So,
Yep,
yeah,
got that on point.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And I did not this time, and I forgot all about it. Let me. I need to put your contact informations up here for everybody, so you can definitely contact Celeste and Susie for a live reading, a full reading, not just having one card drawn. And they can do a full reading for you. I'm going to put that on the screen so that you can get a hold of these ladies. Yeah. And they can do a reading just like this. They can do it over the phone. They can.
Oh, we lost her.
Wow. I'm telling you, there's something weird. I was getting turned off and turned on, and the volume would go off, and then so I don't know. Weird, but it is. It's a big full moon coming, so it messes with all kinds of energy.
It's that Virgo full moon. It's targeting you.
And I saw in the
That's
comments,
it.
is that okay since you blipped out for a second?
What?
Caitlin, are you there?
What? Am I here?
Uh-huh.
What?
Yeah, I
A
got
reading?
you. For Caitlin. Yeah, there.
Oh yeah, Caitlin. Okay.
Okay. So
Would
I've
like a
got
reading
her.
about a future. Okay, sorry, Susie. Go ahead.
That's okay. I've got her cards pulled. Coming at you, coming towards you pretty fast soon will be two gentlemen. One will have more of a boss energy. He will be like he'll have his crap together. Okay, I'm trying to be nice. The other one is going to be he's going to be very handsome but very sharp with his words. And so, that's kind of do I really want to put up with the snarky crap he says just because he's cute? Or do I want this other guy that's got his crap together? You're going to have to decide. That's coming in for you. I've got two very strong male figures. I can tell which one you're more attracted to, which would be your King of Swords, the cute guy. But I would recommend going with the Emperor, who has got his crap together. So have fun.
Sounds like
And
the best
you've got
novel ever.
this
Right?
card, which can sometimes mean a whole lot of attraction.
Oh boy.
If you know what I'm saying. Do you see that thing in the middle?
Yeah, the sword. We're
Yeah,
talking about a sword.
this is kind of a wand, if you know what I'm saying.
So we don't get kicked off anything.
It's
a
a
sword,
wand.
right?
It's a lot of wood.
Wow,
Okay?
Caitlin, it sounds like you got some stuff going on soon. That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
if we
right.
can all keep our hormones in check to let our brains actually kick in and be logical, we'd all be so much more better off.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that emoji. That's cute.
Yeah, definitely. Cherub said, just saying that's what's on the inside is more important than the outside. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Well, David, I'm not so sure he's actually nice. Like this Emperor guy is no BS. He's got his crap together. He's like the boss man. He's like the father figure. Like he's well-rounded.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's necessarily the nice guy, but he may not be the best looking, like, holy cow, that guy is totally hot kind of guy.
Right.
Makes sense?
Well, is he nice? I mean, yeah, you make him sound like he's a little bit of a monster.
No, not like, how the nice guy finished last. So the nice guy never gets any girls. He never, gets all the wood, if you know what I'm saying. No, this other guy, he's good. He just is like no BS with him.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I would definitely choose the Emperor over the King of Swords any day.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think it depends on the day, personally.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, that boy's kind of,
Yeah, one can be the toy for a hot minute, but then you're going to have to figure your crap out quick because the other
one's like one's like the Monday through Friday 9 to 5, and the other one's like the weekend, like
weekend party time.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep. All right. Come on, guys. I know there's people out there lurking and you have not asked for a reading yet. So we have 10 minutes.
Maybe they're scared. Come on, chicken.
I know. Come on. Ask. Yeah, it's not a big deal, guys. Ask for a reading or a card. I mean, it's really amazing how spot on these ladies are.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And just like to share like something. So I got to meet Celeste and Susie a couple of weeks back in person. And just like Susie gave me a hug when we met, and like it was like this instant calming positive energy, and it was so overwhelming that you just know that there is a connection spiritually with a person. So absolutely 100%. These guys are on it. They know what they're doing. They have amazing energy, and you could just feel it when you interact with them.
Thank you, Miss McKenna.
You're welcome.
Trista.
Ooh.
It was very sweet of you to say to McKenna.
Holy cow, Trista. And you can add on if you grab anything, Celeste. She's in full manifestation mode right now. Whatever you speak will come to pass. So
Wow.
that can be a double-edged sword. Be careful what you say right now. But sit down and write down those things that bring you your biggest joy, your happiness, what you want ultimately. Put that emotion into it. Picture it, put that whole daydreamy emotion into it, and then forget about it. And it's going to show up on your door real quick.
Wow. That's incredible. That's really incredible. And then David is asking, should I expand my business?
What do you think, Celeste?
This is what I've kind of felt from the beginning, is that, yes, you need to expand it. I'm not saying this should be a sprint, more like a marathon, but I definitely see you growing and growing. I even see you maybe going out of your area, if that makes sense. I don't know. Looked at maybe having outreach locations in the other surrounding areas, but definitely feel like you're filling a niche that's really needed in those areas. And I think that growth is big on your to come part of this adventure and production that you're creating. It just, the timing was good. You're in a good spot for it. And I think that you're going to be able to reach people that may or may not have had the ability or had feeling like they could connect to people. So I think you're in a really good spot. The catbird seat.
That's cool. That's really cool. And David, I do have some ideas that I've thought about for you on the along the line of the thin blue line topic. So there may be some things that it came up. So anyway, we can talk.
So, what was that collaboration thing I talked to you about earlier?
Oh,
Number 4.
okay, that's just weird and creepy when you do that to me. You know
I
that?
love
Okay.
as the creepy girl. Don't even worry about it. I got you.
Yeah, actually, David, there's things I've been thinking about, but I thought, yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I'm, yeah, Susie, stop it. It just freaked me out. Okay.
It's only creepy when you're like accurate every time.
I know, she's like accurate every time. I'm both of
Got one
you
for you,
are.
McKenna.
But
Oh no. Just kidding.
Do you
Tell
want
me.
it?
Oh, I
Okay.
want it.
So you just be worrying about your rest and recovery right now. Your little traveling adventure can wait a hot minute. Okay. Balance. Yep. But you'll be able to do the traveling thing that you want and the direction that you're headed towards. But just make sure you're healed up first. Your and family. Does that make sense?
Very wise. I am always on the move, except for, you know what? Right now, I'm going to chillax. I love that. Thank you. That's excellent energy. I love it.
yeah, you are always on the move, so maybe you need to take some downtime. Yeah.
I have a problem.
She's got something in the back of her head, like some kind of traveling idea, and like vacation-y or want to go here or there or something. Just chill out for a minute. It'll come.
Yeah.
And
Everywhere.
Daisy's asked, she said, I'm trying to get pregnant. Any messages for me?
Go for that one, Celeste.
One of the, how would I describe it? A lot of people that I know that are suffering, not being able to conceive when they wanted to, or feeling like they weren't going to be able to. For example, in my family, my mother couldn't conceive, filed for adoption, and boom, she got pregnant with me. I had a cousin, the same thing. I'm not telling you to adopt, I'm telling you to relax and to know that when the time is right, it's going to happen. And for some people, it's way before you expect it or want it. For other people, it takes a little bit longer. But I don't necessarily see any like this isn't going to happen for you kind of a thing. But the more we get uptight and we worry and we stress, the less likely our body is going to react positively. Stress does horrible things to our bodies. And so just knowing that they say the children pick the parent, and knowing that there's children that have picked the parent in your situation as well, and trusting the timing of that, not trying to force it, not trying to rush it.
She
And,
said thank you.
Also, I pulled cards while you were talking, Celeste. And look who I have here. Do you see that?
Kind of.
It's the pregnant empress.
What?
Uh-huh. And behind her is the lovers. So of course she always has a choice. But then we've also got another one that can oftentimes show up as pregnant too. We've got the 9 of Pentacles. So
Wow.
it's in the energy. So it's basically like the possibility is there, and take Celeste's advice and relax. It's okay. And
Wow.
everything will be okay.
Those are really incredible cards. Yeah,
It'll
that's
happen when you
amazing.
need it to.
Yeah.
So my mom, same thing. She lost 3 babies between my brother and myself, and they had adopted twins when she became pregnant with me, and they put the adoption on hold to see if I was going to be born, and yeah, so right about when they gave up is when it all worked out. So
Daisy,
Um,
also, my
Yeah,
mother
it's
went
almost
through
like
30.
when the pressure gets off.
Yeah. My mother was told she was never going to have children. She had a 2 infantile size complete female organs. She had 32 miscarriages, and she still gave birth to 2 of us.
Wow.
So don't ever think it's out of the cards for you, so to say. You got this.
Okay, our last reading for the evening is for Emma. It's Caitlin's friend Emma. Yeah, it's pretty amazing what stress does to our body. And then the more worked up you get about a condition or an illness or something, the worse it gets, because we're putting more stress on our body. And it's just, yeah. We will FaceTime Susie. Sherry said we'll FaceTime you after the show if that works. Currently on Emma.
Okay, so my cards show, Emma, that you have a King of Cups coming towards you, someone that wants to offer you some love. But be very careful, because there might be a little deception in there and could leave you a little heartbroken. So just to be very discerning, because the King of Cups, he usually holds back some of his emotions. So he'll just give you a little bit, just enough to kind of hook you. So don't give up your freedom and your independence and who you truly are for anyone.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Be careful out there, everybody, and stay safe. And thank you for joining us tonight on our live show. We're here every Wednesday night. And remember to jot down their phone numbers, their contact information for Susie and Celeste, so that you can get a hold of them and do private readings. And Emma said, thank you so much, by the way. So I thank you again. We will see you guys next Wednesday at 7:00. And really, I wanted to say something. I was looking through you can go back on YouTube and you can look at how many reactions you getting on our lives. And we had over 800 reactions on one of our lives from different emojis people had left and different stuff. And honestly, I just couldn't, I was blown out of the water. You guys are really coming through for us. Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to us that we have that many people interacting with the show. So
yeah, we appreciate that.
Much love to everybody, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.